How's it going, guys and girls? It's Steve here from DayDreamer Gaming, and this is Premier League preview and prediction game week 13. 13 weeks into the season already. It's flying by. Christmas is just around the corner. Loads and loads of fixtures, so I'm going to have to be right on top of these videos over the next few weeks. So this video is coming out a little bit earlier than usual, and that is because we have a Friday night game. So West Ham United play my beloved Leicester City at the Olympic Stadium. And it's fair to say that David Moyes' start as West Ham manager isn't going to plan, or hadn't gone to plan so far. So they lost 2-0 to Watford at the weekend, Moyes' first game. And after the first goal, there was already chance of sack the board from the West Ham fans. And you're not fit to wear the shirt, so on and so forth. Things just aren't brilliant at West Ham at the minute, and I really hope Leicester can capitalise on this. I have a feeling that it's just more going to be a case of a bit of a siege mentality from West Ham, and they're really going to pick their game up on Friday night against Leicester. Leicester played Man City last time out, and surprise, surprise, we lost. So it was only 2-0, which I was fairly happy with. They didn't disgrace themselves. And I feel if Leicester had got into half-time at 0-0, it would have made for a lot more interesting game. They scored just before half-time, and then they scored again just after half-time, and it absolutely killed the game. Brilliant to watch, Man City. Kevin De Bruyne's goal was absolutely superb. Fantastic hit. I say Leicester did not disgrace themselves, and defensively they weren't that bad, but there was just something missing from the midfield. I think it's because they had to do a lot of defending basically, but hey, you can't beat them all, and nobody can seemingly beat Man City at the minute, so it's not to be too down about it. But there's a busy time coming up for Leicester now with all the fixtures. I think they have the busiest of the festive fixtures, a game every 9 days or something between now and Christmas, so very busy. Yeah, this one I'm going to have to back my team, aren't I? I'm going to go for a Leicester win. Let's hope we can capitalise on whatever it is that's going on at West Ham. So moving on to the Saturday 3 o'clock fixtures, we have Crystal Palace versus Stoke. So Palace picked up a draw last time out against Everton, a game that I did predict as a draw. For a change, I got something right. And against Stoke, who also got a draw in their last game. So, you know, two teams that are not setting the world alight by any stretch of the imagination. And, you know, Palace are still bottom of the league, and Stoke find themselves 15th. So it's a bit of a, could be a bit of a nothing game really, this, but I actually fancy Crystal Palace to get something here, so I'm going to go for a Palace win. I think they're going to start picking up a few points. I'm not looked at their running or anything, but you know, they've got to start picking up some points, or going into Christmas bottom of the league, very difficult to get out of. Brighton faced Manchester United at Old Trafford. So United made quite light work of Newcastle despite going 1-0 down, winning 4-1. They look a different prospect with Paul Pogba in the team, and Ibrahimovic made his return at the weekend. Didn't score, as many expected, myself included, but it was pretty straightforward in the end for United. Brighton, they're my kind of unofficial second team. I'm not going to go and buy shirts or anything like that. I'm not like that. There's only one team for me, but I really like Brighton, as I've said before, and they picked up another point at home. Very important. They've got to pick up these points at home if they are going to survive in the Premier League. They're still doing great. They're still exceeding expectations a little bit. People expected them to be bottom or near the bottom, and they are 9th. I mean, no one would have predicted that going into the end of November. So fair play to Brighton. I can't see anything other than a Manchester United win here in this one. It's going to be, for me, fairly straightforward. So Manchester United's opponents of the weekend just gone, Newcastle. They are at home to Watford. So Newcastle, you know, they made a bit of a fist of it at the start of that game at Old Trafford. But as I said, they did get battered 4-1 in the end, and that was their third defeat in a row. But I don't think panic is setting in the northeast by any stretch. It's they're at their 11th, and you know the investment. I think a bid has been rejected this week, actually, of 300 million. Someone trying to buy the club, so that is something that is going to be happening pretty soon, I think. Watford, well, they're doing brilliant this season. So, you know, though Watford, along with Brighton and Burnley, who I'll come on to later, find themselves in a position that they probably didn't expect to be. So they're 8th. Marco Silva, at the time of recording this, is still the Watford manager. I'll get my teams out in a minute. Still the Watford manager, despite the interest from Everton. And I hope for their sake that they do keep him. Richarlison looks like a great find. Whoever scouted him and found him, well done to you. Brilliant player. Already being linked with a move away from Watford, which is very unfair, seeing as he's only been there about 3 months. I think given the form of the two teams, it's a tough one, because although Watford are doing well, they haven't, you know, they've picked up 2 wins in their last 5, and Newcastle have done very similar. I'm going to go with a Newcastle win. Very close Newcastle win. Yeah, let's go for that. I'm going to be wrong. We know I'm going to be wrong. Swansea Bournemouth next. What can we say about Swansea? So 19th. No, 1 win in 5. Not looking good. And this week, after Tony Pulis got the sack, the talk was, of course, who is next. And Paul Clements, who I was calling Clement in the last video. I apologise. There's talk of him being the next manager sacked. So this is a very important win. This could be an important win if they were to get one at the weekend against a Bournemouth team who battered Huddersfield out last time out. Callum Wilson annoyingly scoring a hat-trick, and I say annoyingly because I had him in my dream team and then I took him out. Yeah, very frustrating. That's 2 wins on the bounce for Bournemouth, 2 clean sheets as well, so fair play to them, and they've managed to climb up to 13th. So Bournemouth doing pretty good, picking up the points that they need. For me, Bournemouth are going to be too good for Swansea, and I do think this is the beginning of the end of Paul Clements. So watch this space in terms of the next Swansea manager. Spurs versus West Brom. So West Brom thrashed very convincingly 4-0 by Chelsea at the weekend, 3-0 by half-time, and as a result of that, Tony Pulis did lose his job. Now, at the start of the last video, I talked about this fixture, or I did talk about this fixture in that video, the West Brom Chelsea fixture, and said, you know, I had just heard on the radio that Tony Pulis's programme notes did read as though it was like a farewell, like he knew that it was going to happen regardless of what result they got against Chelsea, and as it happened to be, they got absolutely thrashed. So it gave the board, you know, it was a lot easier for them then to go and sack him. So, and you can see why as well. I mean, there are plenty of stats out there that show, you know, kind of, you know, 5 wins in the last 30 or something like that. I mean, in terms of recent form, no wins in their last 5. They picked up 1 point in those last 5 games. And as I've said before, they've got a half-decent squad, but they're just dreadful to watch. And I think that's a result of Pulis's, you know, management style. Loads of names being linked with that job. Sam Allardyce, obviously. Alan Pardew, Nigel Pearson. The fans want Ronald Koeman. I can't see that, to be honest. I really can't. I know they've got new owners now and they could probably plough a bit of money into the club, but I don't see Koeman going to West Brom. Sorry Baggies fans, but that's my opinion. So that's West Brom. Spurs, So they lost 2-0 in the big North London derby last weekend. Not a result I expected, and from what I saw, they were very, very poor. Arsenal were very good. Tottenham were pretty poor. However, away from the Premier League, Spurs have, I think, all but won their Champions League group, or they have won their Champions League group, and they've qualified anyway for the last 16, which when you look at the group they've got, that's fantastic for them, that's brilliant. Played at Wembley, this Wembley hoodoo, I don't think it exists really. They've won their last 3 home games there, so in the league, and I think they will win quite comfortably at the weekend. So I'm going to go for a Spurs win there. The biggest game of the weekend is Liverpool-Chelsea. So Liverpool made quite light work of Southampton, as predicted, as I thought, winning 3-0. But then, away from the Premier League in the week, 3-0 up against Sevilla and drawing 3-3. That defence, still a big problem for Jurgen Klopp. Chelsea, well, they really hit some form, and say they battered West Brom last weekend, winning 4-0. So, 2 teams here that are in a little bit of form, are in good form. 5th v 3rd. I don't know which way this is going to go, because I fear that if Liverpool play the way they normally do, they could get carved open by Chelsea. However, the way things are at Chelsea, Liverpool could make a quick start, and if they make it 2-0 pretty quick, Chelsea could implode. You know, it's going to be an interesting game to watch, because I don't think Klopp definitely won't go defensive. Conte might, to try and counteract the great forward line that Liverpool have got right now. So yeah, it's going to be an interesting one. It might be a bit of a tactical one, this game, a bit of a tactical battle. Ooh, I'm struggling in terms of which way I think this one will go. I just think defensively Liverpool just aren't good enough. So I'm actually going to go for an away win, Chelsea away win. Ugh. Tricky one. I'll probably get that one horribly wrong. Moving on to the Sunday games. So Southampton versus Everton. So as I said, Southampton swept aside in their last game against Liverpool, losing 3-0. And there's been a few murmurs of, well, Southampton fans aren't happy with the manager that they've got at the minute and are calling for him to go. Tad harsh, but I think maybe there's just a little bit of panic setting in. Managers are starting to be sacked, and you know there's a real managerial merry-go-round happening at the minute, with a few jobs being vacant. The Everton job is still vacant. The Swansea job could become vacant soon. West Brom job is still vacant. The Wales job is vacant as well. So there's perhaps a little bit of panic setting in from Southampton fans. They've dropped down to 14th. But I would say that they're probably having a better season. They would prefer to be where they are than Everton are. So Everton have climbed up to 16th, picking up 4 points in their last 2. But again, like I said, no mention of any manager. All the big names, or all the names that they were linked with, have either distanced themselves from the job or have actually come out and said, no, I don't want it. Marco Silva, I believe, remains their main target from what you hear in the media, but if I was Marco Silva, I'd stay at Watford. I really would. I think this is going to be another draw, to be honest. I think it could be quite the stalemate as well. 0-0, 1-1, something like that. So I'm going to go for a draw. Burnley versus Arsenal, very interesting game. So Burnley doing absolutely fantastic, up to 7th, 3 wins out of 3, not conceding a goal, absolutely fantastic. There's not much more you can say about that. They're doing great, and they're not. Do you know what? They're not even that far off Champions League places, which is crazy. The big thing for them is obviously keeping Dyche, and it doesn't look like he's going to be going to Everton unless something very, very drastic changes. Against Arsenal, they're going to be buoyed by that win against their rivals. It was a great performance by, as bad as Tottenham were, Arsenal were great. Ozil was absolutely fantastic. 6th, 7th v 6th in this one, so you know a win for Burnley could be absolutely massive here. And the way they're playing, don't bet against it. I bet Arsenal fans are probably more worried about this game than they should be. I'm going to go for a draw. Sitting on the fence a lot this week. And the final game of the weekend is Huddersfield versus Man City. So Huddersfield, who surprisingly got promoted last year, you know, fairly small club, you know, if you're going to be honest about it. You know, their wage budget is probably God knows how much smaller it is than Man City's. It's very much a huge golfing class in terms of, you know, where they are on the football spectrum in terms of wages and money they spend on players and various different things like that. But this is the Premier League, and Huddersfield are 10th, and they're doing brilliant. They're doing really, really well. They're exceeding expectations as well. The worrying thing for Huddersfield is they're not really picking up many points away. Now, Burnley got away with this last season, picking up points at home, a lot of points at home. And I feel that Huddersfield are going to have to do the same. They're going to have to pick up a big chunk of their points at home. Maybe 25, 30 points from the home games, which is a big, big ask. Man City, well, I'm just not going to talk about them anymore. They're just amazing. Absolutely brilliant. And as much as we would probably want the fairy tale, I don't think it's going to happen, and I do think Man City are going to win this one. Okay, so that brings me to the end of my predictions. Thank you very much for watching. I apologise for the game that was being played in the background there, 0-0. Absolute shocker. I'm not going to put you through extra time and penalties. I'm going to call it there. Thank you very much for watching. Thank you for watching the last video. It got quite a lot of views, or it's one of the most viewed videos that I've done, so thank you very much for that. Make sure you like and share the video if you wouldn't mind. That would be great. And don't forget to subscribe to DayDreamer Game and hit that notification button so that you know when one of us is uploading a video, or when we're playing and one of the guys or girls are doing one of their live streams. Thank you very much. Enjoy your weekend, and I will speak to you next time.